So the whole idea of I was making the presentation in this cultural fellowship in San Francisco online already, and they asked me again to make another presentation because it is not very clear what it is all about. It's interesting that the faculties of consciousness are the most unclear thing for us. That very thing which we use all the time is the most hidden from our understanding. How we see, how we hear, what it is, yes? How we speak, what it is that's happening to us when we speak, for example. What is speech? Something is happening and we cannot figure out what it is. We just speak. Or we see, okay, I see, and that's it. I'm so habituated in seeing and hearing and speaking and thinking that I do not know what is happening really. What is thought, how the thought process is taking place. What is feeling? Do we know what is feeling? So this shift from the object of sense to the sense itself, so to say, is the idea. When we shift from the activities of senses or faculties to the faculties themselves, there is something happening. We start to align with something deeper in us. So we have one more poise from which we can view how the faculties act, what they are. So we don't see what the faculties want. Yeah? We do not concentrate on the object of sense. We concentrate on the sense. And to concentrate on the sense, what I did now, asking you what it is already shifting the poise towards the witness, towards the consciousness itself. So this is the trick. Yeah? So instead of viewing what you want faculties to get, you view how they act and what is happening within them when you act. Makes sense? We step backward, one more step, so to say. We remove ourselves identifying with senses and their want of the object of sense towards the something which views how they act, what they do, what is happening within them when they act. I think this is the major thing which is happening when Sri Krishna offers us the idea of karma yoga, saying that you should not follow the fruit of action. You should not fix yourself on the fruit of action. And this disengagement with the fruit of action frees our faculties from being totally engaged in nature. Because the faculties represent Purusha, they represent our consciousness. That very witness consciousness is represented by them in manifestation. It is the Purusha who delegated out of himself these faculties when he attended to Prakriti. We say Purusha attends to Prakriti and she starts moving. But what does he attend? What does he, delegate from himself to Prakriti? It is his attention. What is that attention? It is these faculties. He gives to Prakriti his own faculties. And on them she builds the worlds. She builds Pancha Mahabhutani, 5 Tanmatras. Everything is built, Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas. She builds everything on the ground of this delegation of Purusha, of his consciousness, as faculties to her. Makes sense, no? Those who know Sankhya. How else? What else she should build? She has only 3 gunas in equilibrium, nothing else. She can be either passive, active, or in equilibrium. There is nothing more in her energy. Now she has to have some stuff to work with, and that is Purusha, his faculties.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
I have been under the impression through listening to you talk about this several times now that the faculties and the senses and their sense organs are not the same. That the faculties are what makes the sense organs work, but that the faculties are a step back already. They are something different and
Well, it's a
more.
yeah.
Is that correct?
Yes, it's a manner of speaking, because how else we, with our dividing mind, constantly contrasting mind, will understand that there are poises, or there are levels of these faculties. The physical level of these faculties are the organs, the eyeball, yeah. But the physical, and seeing the light, the photon falls onto the retina, and retina interprets it through the brain. All this process is a physical seeing, but physical seeing cannot exist by itself. Why should it be? If there is no seeing at all, there is an inner vital seeing, there is a mental seeing, there is supramental seeing, and most probably even transcendental seeing. Yeah, so seeing, we have to see what it means to see. It's not the eyeball and the photon that seeing is. And not, but because the interpretation is taking place in the brain. Why? Because there is a deeper seeing. Otherwise, interpretation in the brain should not take place. Yes, so we should not be so discerning different objects and their relations and so on. Because there is a deeper seeing, because there is a consciousness behind the seeing. There is no seeing without consciousness. There is no such thing. That's why Sri Aurobindo says that consciousness is the fundamental, reality of our existence.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to make sure I was on the right track.
Well, yeah, we are all on the right track only. In my presentation, I separated them in 3 different modalities. One is secret operations of consciousness, other is faculties as such in their own domains. And then when they are turned towards the object of sense, towards adhibhuta, manifestation of the physical world through their organs, then we call them senses. Because senses are engaged, faculties are in themselves, but beyond them there is something hidden, like the eye, the hearing of our hearing, the seeing of our seeing, the word of our word, behind them. And that is the power of Brahman, or spirit. And Sri Aurobindo beautifully describes this in the Kena Upanishad, seeing of our seeing, hearing of our hearing. The mind of our mind is behind. There is another deeper mind behind this mind, which is acting here in manifestation. Otherwise, this mind would not come into existence and would not be able to operate in a meaningful fashion as the means to evolve in consciousness, to become more and more capable in mental consciousness and seeing and hearing and speaking. We are becoming more and more capable of expressing what? Expressing again that Purusha, that infinite capacity of consciousness. So now we look at the faculties very differently. They are consciousness. Some people suggest to call them instruments. I disagree with the word instruments. They are not instruments. Instruments are something like you use and you drop. These are faculties, faculties of the very consciousness. Consciousness is manifested through these faculties. The world is built through these faculties. There would be no light in the world. There would be no suns, no stars, no constellations, no galaxies, if there would be no seeing. Seeing determined the appearance of light. Otherwise, why for the light to exist, yes, if there is no seeing? Who would know that light exists if there is no seeing behind it, even implied? I know that sounds a little bit non-materialistic, but think about it. Why that photon would exist at all if there is not to be for the star to be visible or for the sun to be seen? What's the point of all this energy exploding and moving? So I'm starting from near to far. I want to engage you more, and then come to those schematics. Yeah. So if you have something to say or to argue or to bring something to the table, please go ahead.
It just dawned on me that we can see because it has light. That's what gives us the ability to see it, is that it's in us. Kind of like we're, did I say that right? Let me say that again. We can see the light because consciousness is light and it has light. That's the only reason we can see it.
Closer, yeah, nice. I can feel it. We have to match our, expressive capacity, speech capacity to this need of expressing this consciousness. We are looking for the right combination which will give us the sense, understanding of it. Very nice. Mm-hmm. Yes, because consciousness is there. Sri Aurobindo says the light is the representative of consciousness in the physical world.
So, Vladimir, this seeing and hearing, you said, what do we see? So it's like as soon as you see or you speak, it's an impulse to action immediately. But if at that moment we are conscious of what we are seeing or what we are going to speak or what is the correct hearing, that is the key, I feel, to the real consciousness working in the faculties.
When we see, we have to see how we see. When we speak, we have to be conscious of what is happening when we speak. Yes. This is the stepping back, one more step back. When we hear, we are not hearing what the person is saying. First of all, we are listening to the message. That means we are already disengaging from the immediate hearing. We are listening to what is coming through, yes? So, and then we can step back one more and concentrate of how we are hearing it. And then there will be one more kind of poise of consciousness, which will make us conscious, involved and uninvolved at the same time. Witness and involved. Involved because we are acting, but we are not acting automatically. We are acting consciously. I know it's not so easy, it seems.
Vladimir, both from point of view of Sankhya as well as from quantum physics, this is extremely easily explainable. Because unless we have the senses detecting the qualities, there is no object. And in quantum physics, unless we have the detector which detects the location or some property of the photon. There is no photon. It's everywhere. It's only when we detect it that we find that it has a precise location
Lovely.
or imprecise. But I had a different question. So somewhere in Life Divine, Sri Aurobindo says that all the five senses can be generalized into one sense. And this is a kind of sense with a capital S, which is probably closest to seeing. And but this does not tie in well with our Chakshu, Shottam, big Vak, Manas, because I can generalize it into two things. One is getting an impression, and the other is emitting an expression. So I'm a bit confused about the generalization level. Are there five distinct separate senses or four faculties, or are they generalized into expression and impression?
Yeah, this is the difficulty, especially with taste and smell in Sankhya. When you come to Sankhya, yes, you will have this dilemma. The thing is with seeing, what we chose seeing only for as an example, because there is a hearing at the same time. There is apprehensive and comprehensive cognition. Sri Aurobindo, yes, there is essential sense, samjnana, yes, this hidden sense, which we looked into. It's a knowledge by identity. Yes, then when the knowledge power separates itself from its own workings to take that object of sense which was created back to itself, to know it anew. Yeah? This creates the sense, that very sense you refer to, that only one sense.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But that only one sense is the capacity of identity of oneself with everything, because it is actually, everything is myself in the highest form. Because of that, in the highest Purusha, everything is myself. Only here it got separated. I'm kind of recapturing it again, yeah, on the lower level, and start recognizing it, learning about it, so to say, sensing it in myself. That, oh, I know it. Yeah? Discovering it means recovering that fundamental knowledge which is already there of oneness. So, and that is a surprise. I learned something new. I always knew it in the highest sense, but I never had it here on the lower level of separated consciousness. So that kind of recapturing it on the separative level of consciousness is all what is there for conscious action of sense. And the object of sense is another part of this power, consciousness power, Chit Shakti, yes, which is fundamentally the action of that consciousness. And that's why you say that what you said about quantum perception, if there is no cognition of the photon, there is no photon. It is everywhere. It is in the quantum thinking, and it's very true because photon is everywhere. And that focusing on it in this particular separated time and space is manifesting it in that form for us.
Until we detect it, it is not there, or it is everywhere, whichever way we want to take it.
It's very nice everywhere. I like it more than nowhere. Yeah, nowhere is also the same equal to everywhere because well, for the mind at least.
Vladimir,
Yeah.
could I share something?
Yes, please.
I was reading something by this particular Elia Delio's work, where she brings, Selvi, I know you. She brings in quantum physics, and I was reading in the morning, and she gave this metaphor, like, no, you have this paper, kind of fold it, and you see, make a hole in it. There's only one. right? This is at one dimension, this one. And like, no, but when it becomes like at a different dimension, you see what we are seeing at, and it immediately struck me like how we are having that multiplicity and like beautifully explained that.
Interesting. Yeah, holographic picture, yes. Everything is within everything. But there are levels of unity, yeah? Levels of oneness till the highest self-identity. And this self-identity is the foundation of consciousness, yes? Of him knowing himself. And then that knowledge of him knowing himself is redistributed through separative consciousness in everyone who is him, yes? And wants to reach out and to identify oneself with every object of sense, learn about it, enjoy it, identify with it, through whatever means, through love, hate, you name it, yeah? Destruction, consummation, and whatever, yeah? Consuming it, gobbling it up, digesting it, whatever the forms, but there is always a movement of the identifying oneself with the object of sense.
I had this sort of image when you were talking about the message of three processes, which are probably not that distinct, but of the vibrations, the sense data coming in. That's number one, through the organs. Number two is the brain processing that, turning it into some kind of meaning. But behind that being someplace where the actual message is. And then, so we hear someone say something, we get the blah, blah, blah of what there's of the sound. Then we turn that into words that have meaning. And then behind that, there's something that they're trying to say. We have a response to that. Then that has to go back to the brain to get into some words. And then our mouth has to make that sound and out it has to come. But there's like these three areas.
Well, it's not bad what you did, really. It's a very good psychological kind of, you used brain, but even if you skip brain, there are these levels of, you are talking about Spota theory. There is theory of Spota, how we perceive the meaning. Yeah? And so there are levels. There is Dhwani level, the rough sound, yeah? And we are not listening to the sound. Interesting. According to the Spota theory, the sound is sounding, but we are not listening to the sound. We are listening to the articulation of the sound. Boom, first Spota. It is physical Spota. You are listening not to how my sound, whatever I said, yes? And not like computer listens to the sound. You are listening to my articulation of the sound, because behind that articulation, there is something you want to kind of recombine. You want to combine within yourself. My articulation, you are re-articulating within yourself. And that's why we can speak only the language we commonly know. If I speak to you, for example, Ukrainian now, you would not understand, because you cannot re-articulate it within your consciousness. And you will notice even then when somebody speaks, something is moving in the mouth the same way, like slightly. Yeah? So you're articulating what I'm articulating, and that re-articulation recaptures all that what you would do if you would say it. Yeah? So this is one spot on the level of the physical. Yeah? So there is Dhvani, the rough sound, and there is subtle sound, subtle articulation, yes, which is there taking place at the same time. We have to look into Spota theory. And then there is something else. There is the Madhyama Vak. This all was on a Vaikhari level. On Madhyama Vak is even more interesting. There is a grammar. There is a structure of relations of the words into the meaningful statement. It has to be how to say, finished. Until it is finished, the meaning is not clear. Meaning structural semantics is not clear. So suppose I was playing this game in the linguistic department. Suppose I start my speech, yes? Dear friends, it is so nice that we, as usually, when we come together, and I see everyone here, and we are so delighted to finally, especially when we are so closely related, and you're still waiting for the punch, yeah? Because there is no punch. Why? Because I deviated from the full stop sentence. I didn't complete my predicate. So I started with premise, with the subject, and I didn't finish the predicate. So I put so many interwords. Sometimes people speak like this. You never know what they want to say. They have so many interjections that you are lost. What was that all about? Where is the message? Give me the message. And there is no message. There's just this chewing thing. And Mother says interestingly about this, that people discovered language and speaking very recently in the evolution of consciousness, and they enjoy just talking without really even making any message. Just, chewing. Whatever, what I ate in the morning, how it was this and that. They like to speak. It's kind of interesting to know, not to blame people for that. But interestingly, that without subject and predicate, there is no sentence. So there must be a tree is, and there must be something at the end, beautiful. If I say the tree is equal, tree equals beautiful. It's like a equation. If this equation is not done, not finished, the meaning is not clear. 1 equals 1. This has to be done. Then we communicate. This is a structural semantic. So to say, it is from syntax, yeah, or grammar, how the words are related, what picture you are drawing. Something equals something. That has to be finished. And then the spota appears. By the way, Bhartrihari, his Vakyapadiyya is very famous and studied all over the world. It is he who actually defined Vachya and Vachaka, the signified and signifier, which was borrowed by Ferdinand de Saussure, yeah, and made out of it general linguistics, and he's considered to be the father of general linguistics. And so there is signified and signifier. This is the whole linguistic basis. Yeah? Something is signified by some signifier, and they are kind of going together. We will look into it maybe more when we look into how we speak. But this idea that there is structural semantics, we use language for this. We know what is subject, what is object, what is verb. We put them together and we get the statement. This, we have to use the language which is cognizable by the surface consciousness or by the listener. And then there is deeper level, the message, Pashyanti Vakya. And the Pashyanti Vakya is that intuition or that need, intention to express oneself. So it comes like a lightning or like a flash. I know what I want to say. I know what it is to be in this particular context. I want to bring this into this context because it calls for it, in my view. In my view, I feel that the context is invoking a particular thing. Why do I say what I say in this moment of time? This is an interesting question. Why not something else? Because there was a call for it, a need. This is what Abhinavagupta says. There is always a call from below, which calls for this particular Pashyanti Vak to come down. And it comes to me, and then I'm looking for the words, how to build it into structure, into sentences which will be meaningful, which would convey that message. Pashyanti Vak is the message. Something to be done. Something is to be discovered, wished for. Something is lacking. Something is wanted. This is what the word is doing. Now we are deconstructing the whole speech idea. The word, what the word is doing is our faculty of consciousness. It is always filling the want, answering the need, bringing the wish into the context where it was not.
Vladimir, all this you have just described is the power of expression of the consciousness.
Right.
But there is also the power of impression, which is different
Go ahead.
from the eyes, from the ears, from whatever, 5 sense organs.
How
That
do
is another power, isn't it? And there are only 2 powers.
Impression, what do you mean impression?
Taking in the signals from the outside world.
Yes.
Not necessarily via words,
Yeah.
but also via words if we are hearing.
Well, words are a very relative thing because there are many languages, many different words.
Yeah, but even seeing, the context actually comes to us when we are seeing also, even if we did not have words.
Right. There is perceptive and active part, yes. Perceptive will be hearing of the word speaking. Word is active, self-expression. It's good that perceptive of it will be hearing. What is hearing? Now, what is this impressive, not expressive part? It is taking into itself for what? What is hearing, actually? Since we finished with speech, there's one more level, after lightning. Beyond the lightning, there is Mahapashyanti, bigger lightning. And there is even bigger lightning, and bigger until we come to Paravak, to this transcendental word, that word which was one with God. And that is the intention of manifestation, which is being kind of, coming down with smaller and smaller intentions and distributed in time and space for its own fulfillment. Now, finishing with speech, we will come to that. What is the hearing then? What is this impressive thing? Because hearing cannot be active. When hearing is active, it is speech, word. When hearing is perceptive, it is passive. When we want to really understand someone, we stop every process of, interpretation and thinking. We are really kind of meditating thoughtlessly, wordlessly. We are trying to go deep, deep, deep into that and find that intention, find that Pashyanti flesh, yes? What does person want? Yeah? And this is what psychologists should do. You remember this film, Freaky Friday? When the daughter became the psychologist of the mother, and she has to meet the patients, and she says, "What should I do then? What should I tell them?" "No, you tell them nothing. No way you tell them anything. You just nod casually and say, how do you feel about it?" No talking from the psychologist, only listening. This is funny, but it is very true. Because without deep listening, without deep penetration to what person is really doing, it cannot help the patient to really rediscover that, what he's looking for.
Vladimir, I think, one second. I think I just had a kind of thinking that actually it is the same process both ways. In the one that you described first, it is the individual or the person who is speaking. And in the impression part, it is the entire universe that is speaking through its own grammar, which we are trying to hear. So it is the same thing.
Very nice.
Is
This
it?
is the oneness of the perceptor, of the person who perceives and person who expresses. And this oneness in the universe is definitely there. Only it is separated in our consciousness and we do not see. We are reassembling it all the time, trying to arrive at that oneness. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Sorry, Dipti, I interrupted you. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I think that came in at the right time because I was asking Vladimir about realization, the word realization. When you're saying something and something within me just immediately understands the essence of it. When we say we realize, that whole process,
it becomes real to us, we realize. It becomes, true, tangible. It embodies itself finally. I have it tangible here. I can deal with it now. I know it as an entity of some kind of.
So that's always there, that field, right, Vladimir? It's just veiled. So there are moments when you completely go into that blank state when you're touching that, and then it connects.
Right. It
When
is
you're listening to
something which is there, which has to be recovered, that connection in us. And when we recover it, we say, oh, I discovered something which was covered.
Vladimir, I have a question here. It's a little different from what we are discussing, and yet it is related to it. Is that why Mother said that Savitri should be read aloud?
Did she say this? Really?
Yeah. She said that Savitri should be read aloud. I've read it in a number of places. Is it because then this, all that we just discussed, the 5 levels of speech and this levels of hearing, they actually become activated, and what Kinshuk and Deepti just brought to the discussion was that highest level of hearing, which happens as you read Savitri. Something inwardly opens, and by listening to those sounds, those words, and there is a deeper perception, deeper understanding, and you hear the words in their true context and understand it.
Right. We have to reconnect that higher connection with Sri Aurobindo. You see, he made himself, Savitri, the sadhana of his own, trying to reconnect those higher and deeper connections of consciousness. Yes.
So what I'm trying to say is it takes you to that samjhana level, because there is a complete union. There's no separation then in the hearing and the
Ideally, it should happen. It's never happening to the fullness, but partially, of course.
but the capacity begins to open up.
Right. Of course, we cannot claim of realization. We are far away from understanding.
No, yeah, that I understand. But what I'm saying is these levels begin to operate more consciously. I don't know how else to say it, but it just came to me. I mean, while this discussion was going on. But maybe that is why Mother says that we should read Savitri aloud.
There is definitely some magic happening.
Apart from it being the mantric quality.
Right.
I agree with what Jayashree is saying, because I was just going to say that too, because when you read Savitri and when we read it together on Monday evenings, we are reading it again and again and again with so many people saying the same reading that you start, I don't know, there is some thing that makes you go so deep within that you get the whole meaning, but you can't talk. It's something very beautiful. And
Yeah.
I think in Savitri, the faculty of this, everything opens up, the hearing, the listening, the speaking, the seeing. You start seeing it all in one, and it's not easy to talk then.
Right. We do not have the level of speech which will match that perception,
Yes,
that consciousness.
yes,
That's why it's difficult to say anything.
yes.
Yeah, it's really difficult to even make yourself say something. But some people have that capacity anytime. They can switch on and start talking. For that, you have to be less connected to that inner world, yeah? So to say, to speak easily, freely, whatever comes to your mind. Yes, I have this difficulty to speak, and I must speak because this is something I have to do in this session. So I kind of drag on with all that, repeating the same words, kind of recapturing them again. But there is something happening, and I'm not sure that only by reading many times, which is true, absolutely, but also it happens to me when I even just go through it silently. It just boom comes like very strong power holding you, makes your mind silent. So
It is because the capacity has been developed. So you don't need to, hear the words spoken, the inner hearing and the inner understanding.
yeah,
There's an inner hearing that happens with the silent reading.
Sri Aurobindo says the same, that silently pronounced mantra in the mind is sometimes even stronger than, most probably because he has that inner hearing, I guess, as you said. I was thinking about what Sri Aurobindo said. So it's not necessarily only by articulating Vaikhari in the mouth that the meaning will come strongly. It can be in the mind articulated and it will come strongly.
I think Mother was also saying it because of the purification of the physical.
Possible.
When you physically speak the words, there is a purification in the atmosphere, in the being itself as you read it aloud.
Right.
And she was speaking to, the regular general janta, and that's why she said, please read it aloud.
You know what it made me think of? Articulation silently in the mind of the meaning. That means reading in the mind, yes. Meaning is still there, yes, the message. And it is like Vaikhari, only you speak it silently, so to say, without using the dhavani, the outer sound. But what it made me think about this strange phenomenon which happened in the concentration camp, in the Gulag, in the Soviet Union, in the Russia, when this beautiful pianist was taken and thrown into the Siberia to cut the woods. And so she was such a talented pianist, but she was in that slavery stage, cutting woods in the Siberia in the frost. So they put her into the cell together with Barak, together with other criminals. But criminals somehow recognized her values and quality. And they cut for her piano from the wooden table, these keys, just made her a table to play piano. And she played to them Bach and Mozart and Beethoven and all of those concerts what she gave them. They swear they heard the music. This is something to think of. This is how the expression of consciousness works. She knew the meaning. She heard the music when she played it in her mind. And she could, with her fingers, with her everything, kind of convey that meaning to them. This is something about consciousness is really beautiful. But of course, she knew how to play it. She had in her memory, in her body, all that, yeah, inbuilt as a pianist. So she could recreate it silently for them. So this is also about silent rearticulation of the meanings, yes, which are coming to you. The meanings have to come to you. Yeah. And if they reach through that rearticulation in the mind or then it took place. It is really doing it. It is here. Yes, great. My presentation is more like schematics. You see all that. It is helpful for the first time, but this kind of interaction, what we do from near to far, is more useful, I guess, because we are all here thinking together. Yes, Sharon, you are smiling. Something is on your mind.
I just love the story of the piano player.
Mm. Yeah, it's unthinkable. So beautiful.
So I think that, sorry, go ahead, sorry.
I was just going to say in response to reading Savitri aloud, there is something very powerful. And I think it has to do with your own voice, because I get together once a week with a group of people and we read Savitri aloud. But hearing other people read it and reading it with my own voice, somehow my voice, it is a mantra, and the voice activates the vibration in the bones. And I think there is some kind of purification that goes on. There's an exchange of energy deep in the body that you just don't get through the ears.
A resonance in the body, yes. Vocal cords are vibrating it, and yeah, it must be. There is a magical thing happening when we read 12 times through that. Even if you don't want to be in that state, you fall into it. There is really a power. And it's very beautiful to listen how others are articulating the meaning. You can see others' shades and hues and additional meanings. It comes to you more clear. It's like you're drawing the same picture 10 times. Everybody draws the same picture and it becomes more and more visible, as it were. There is this time factor also. In time it is being repeated, settled by the time. It is made solid because it's repeated again and again. I'm not against it. I'm just wondering about the silent articulation because of Spota theory. We are listening to the articulations, not to the dhvani, really. But the voice, one's own voice. Whenever I read Savitri aloud, it feels like it is not me reading, it's as if somebody else.
There's only one time, or there's what this silent articulation. For a while, I was playing with the mantra Supreme, and I noticed that somebody suggested that you say it very fast, and if you say it very fast, you have to do it subvocally because you're mouth can't go that fast. And I did notice this spiral that spins you upward if you say a mantra very, very fast, subvocally.
Interesting. These are experiments, yes. I told you about when I lived in Korea that I went to the church. They had this Protestant church on Sundays. And I lived with a couple who were very religious Christians. And the priest was giving them homework to read through the Bible and so on. Who can read many times through the Bible, he will get something, you know. So what she was doing, she was putting a tape and speeding it up. And it was like, I was wondering what was happening. What is that sound? I went out and asked her, what is she doing? She was listening to the Bible, speed it up. It goes in anyhow. That's how she believed. It's a magical thing, has to go in, and that's it. Well, there are many experimentations in this field. Yes,
Your accounting of the story of the people and understanding or hearing the music that this pianist was playing, I guess, in her mind, it made me think that in the quantum world, there's infinite potential. Everything exists in creation. All knowledge exists as a potential. And if we can draw on that, then it becomes like a photon. Then it materializes in us. And because the universe is holographic, that everything exists in every particle, the entirety of the universe exists in every particle. If we can bring about that in our consciousness, if we can become aware of it and cause it, by observing it, cause it to become a photon, then we basically can know anything and everything that exists in the universe.
yeah.
And then by identity, if we have a question, we can ask a question. By identity, we'll know the answer.
By the way, this is a good way to approach how we see things. And once we discussed this, we're coming back to seeing that photon, actually, which we do not know what it is. Nobody knows what photon is. It's an interesting thing. Nobody cracked the secret of photon. Yeah? Photon, which flies with the speed of light, some particle or some wave or some energy, which was emitted by some other body like the sun or other, so falls onto an object, yeah, and then from the object we think it bounces or reflects, and it falls into our retina and we see the object, yeah. But if you analyze, and we analyze this with physicists, maybe Kinshuk can bring here some more information. We had the whole presentation how we see, and this is amazing because this photon is so small that it will fit through the space between nuclear and electron. There is a huge space for it. It is so small that it flies through like nothing. It actually penetrates everything. These photons are not stuck anywhere unless they are caught by the electron, because electron is an energetic field. And once the photon is caught by the electron is getting extra energy. And it changes the level. Yeah? It has different orbits. It changes the orbit. And then it cannot sustain on that orbit because it's not its natural one. It got to extra energy. It falls back. When it falls back, it emits the photon. So what is happening? That we do not see the bouncing of the photon, because that what he emitted is not the same photon. It's a totally new emission of energy. So everyone emanates photons. Yeah? This is how we communicate body to body. This is the direct evidence of the truth. It's from my body touching your body through the photons. We are one being through photons. Yeah? This is amazing if you think of it. We build one being by seeing each other. So in that sense, you are very right. So that photon is actually an emanation of every being. And it is only one photon which is being emanated and re-emanated all the time. They even started to think new theories coming up that there is only one electron in all of this. Well, I have no idea what it means, but something closer to this thinking of photon is reappearing where it is needed, and we see it. Of course, for our objective mind, it's very difficult to see this subjective existence of the universe. Photon is everywhere, only being actualized in the moment when it is needed. Yes, Robin?
It caused me to think that our world, our life that we experience, which is a very our subjective little bubble that we exist in, exists because, damn it, I forgot the idea. Darn it, I lost it.
It will come. It will come.
It exists because we see that photon, because we're a collection of photons. That's what causes our little bubble, our personal universe to exist.
Yeah.
And when that ceases to be, boom, the bubble bursts and our little life goes away.
Yeah.
We see or we want to see.
Well, we wanted to see, and therefore it happened.
Yeah. Let it be light, and there was light.
And it manifested because we had a desire to see it.
And Robin, you mentioned about that potential. Knowing one, you know it all, right? Probably we are not able to see at that level, because the moment you see that, then the whole thing is
And the game's up.
game's up. Exactly.
Vladimir, coming back to this pianist, I was thinking, sorry, that as long as it doesn't descend from the Madhyama to the Vaikhari, there is a potential energy building up in the Madhyama. And that is what makes it very powerful, because anything in potential is always more powerful than anything that is distributed or dynamic.
I agree. But we should not forget her body, fingers, expression, her body, embodiment of music, yes, touching the keys. Everything is already Vaikhari. So to say, there is the support, there is a physical support for expression of music.
So 25% of it would be Vaikhari already.
Mm-hmm. It will, if she would not play only in her mind, they would not hear it. But she had to express it through her body. She spoke music through the body, yes, without sound. This is another way of speaking. Speech is a very powerful tool. It's a tool of self-expression. It can express through music, through gesture, through dance, through colors, paintings, through silence, through look. I can look at you and you will communicate something. So these are different languages which we use to express oneself. And that is the word. The word. Look is the word when I express myself. We have to understand what the word is in the highest sense. It wants to bring some message, communicates, disturbs the equilibrium which is settled, brings some new information, something which was wanted or unwanted, and modifies the context. Or unwanted, Robin's son smiled. All right, okay, we are 10 o'clock. Great, this is from near to far works for us. So we see that the faculties are not just the faculties. They represent consciousness in action. And we will have to look why there are only few now, seeing and hearing, speaking and thinking, why there are not more, and what we will gain from this. Maybe next time we will come to our schematics. All right. Okay, thank you everyone, and see you next time. Namaste.